Flight attendants from my company lose their jobs because of things that they posted on. Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I started a 4-day trip. I've been off per se for a long time, since the 28th of August. We are now at the 7th of September. But I'll explain that a little bit later, how when I say technically off. But today is a 3-leg day. Do an X and A turn, then I have an hour and a half sit once I come back from Northwest Arkansas, and then I go to Monroe, Louisiana. So this trip is in and out of Atlanta. I don't go to another base unless something changes foreseeably, but it's a real easy trip. It's 2 legs tomorrow, 2 legs the next day, and then 3 legs the next day. So it's not really a hard trip, and they're short legs. So like tomorrow I'm done by 10 o'clock in the morning. So I have all day to myself tomorrow in Dothan, Alabama. But other than that, my flying partner, I've worked with him before. He's senior to me, so I'm here on the plane first. Nobody else is here, so I'm just waiting to see where he wants to work, if he wants to work the front or the back, because technically he's more senior. And that's what I usually do. You know, we go by seniority where you want to work the front. I usually let the senior person choose, but when I'm the senior person, I just say it's wherever you want to work, unless it's just I want to start the front first for whatever reason. But I always give the junior person the choice. It's like wherever you want to work, and most times they want to start at the back. A lot of people just don't like working the front for whatever reason. Other than that, I'll see you guys once I get to Monroe, Louisiana this afternoon. Everybody, I made it here to Monroe, Louisiana. Oggi foi molto tranquillo, which translates to today was very uneventful. Tranquilo, there's no actual word that I found, and that's the closest that I know right now at my level of learning Portuguese that compares to uneventful than tranquilo. So it is what it is. But other than that, the flights were very uneventful. We were late coming in because our flight the plane was coming in from Grand Rapids, right? Which I didn't even realize we did a flight from Grand Rapids to Atlanta. Usually that's mainline, but came in late, so we were rushing. The flight attendants, they told us that the empty carts in the back were full of just empty cans. So I told Catering when they was on board, I said, hey, the back cart right here, I pointed to it, said it's just empty cans. Can you get rid of it? Can you swap it out? Of course they didn't. Then it's a water coffee service flight. They didn't cater us the correct way for water, coffee, and tea. So we didn't have enough water. So I sent them a message to come back. They acted like I spoke in a foreign language or something. Now, I started to reply back in how folks in Atlanta talk, you know what I'm saying? Because I can understand what they're saying when they're talking, in the vernacular of, people in Atlanta, how they talk. So I understand it. I know how to type the same exact way, but then I thought about it. That would probably cause me a meeting because they would have thought I was trying to be funny, but I was just trying to basically communicate because I simply said, hey, this is a water, coffee, tea flight. We don't have enough waters for the downline. Could you bring some individual bottled waters back and take some of these sodas? Clearly that wasn't clear enough for him, but I didn't do it because what we type in the phone to message the different departments is recording. I didn't need a meeting for that, but that would have been my reasoning if I did do it. I'm like, listen, they clearly didn't understand me when I spoke correct English, so I just spoke in the vernacular, and hopefully they understood, but I didn't do it. So I told the crew that's taking it out that they might not have enough waters. They would have individual waters. They would just have to pour the rest with the big bottles of water. But we've been having an issue with catering. Everybody's having an issue with catering. Even mainliners having an issue with catering. So it's not just us. But it is what it is. You got to work with what you have and try to improvise along the way. That's what we do. Other than that, it's a 5 a.m. van time in the morning. But again, I'm done before 11 o'clock. So not too shabby. But I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for a 5 o'clock report. Bom dia, bom dia, bom dia. It's early. It's early. Today's a 2-leg day. Monroe to Atlanta, Atlanta to Dothan for 2 hours sit. So, but I'm done before 11 o'clock. Also, I forgot to tell you all how I was off for so many days. So, not technically, I wasn't really off, but I picked up reserve days for the end of August because I was just burnt out. I had 130 hours in August. So I swapped out my last trip of August, which ran over into Labor Day. And from the 27th through the 31st, I had a stretch of reserves. They didn't call me except for on the last day, which is Labor Day. They called me to come sit ready reserve from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the airport, right? So when I'm on reserve, I go do whatever it is that I need to do. I just always have my suitcase and uniform in the car ready to go, and that way I can just go and change like that. They never called me, which I knew at the end of the month there was no way they would call me because there was no IROPS, there was nothing irregular going on with the company or with, the basis. So there was no need for them to use me. So that's why I didn't get used at the end of the month. Then I had 1 day off, and then I swapped out of my first trip into September from the 3rd through the 5th, and on some reserve days some more. They didn't use me until the last day, and I did like a white plains to Deadhead from Detroit back to Atlanta. And then I had another day off, and then I started this trip. So I didn't really get used for anything, and I was technically off, and I was at home for those amount of days. And yeah, I was just burnt out from August. Like I flew a lot in August, and I was just like, you know what, I want a break. Let me take up some reserve days. There was no IROPS, nothing, no irregular operations, and they didn't call me. As that's what we really want. That's why a lot of line holders. And then I swapped out of one of them because I wasn't getting done at 10 o'clock at night, and there was nothing in open time to swap it out for. So there you have it. But other than that, I'll see you guys a little bit later on this morning when I get to everybody. Today was a very uneventful day. Just the 2 flights, Monroe to Atlanta. And when I tell you, every time I work a Monroe flight, the same flight attendant is always commuting to work, which she double commutes it to New York. She was on our flight this morning. She had to sit the jump seat because the flight was full. Mainline, if you don't know, mainline flight attendants can jump seat on our flights, and we can jump seat on mainline flights as well. Now, if it was a flight attendant from my company, they would have bumped her off the jump seat, and vice versa. They can bump us off their jump seat. Now, it has to be within a certain amount of time. You can't just come at the last minute, we're about to close, and think they're gonna bump somebody. It doesn't work that way. You gotta come within, I think it's 70 minutes prior to the door closing or whatever, and that's how that actually works. And it was no service for me coming down to Dothan, so I didn't do anything but help my flying partner out with first class. So other than that, take a nap. It's a little bit before 11 o'clock. Get up, work out, edit some videos, work on another video that I should have been worked on 2 years ago, but me being lazy, and I'm gonna do that, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Hey everybody, I made it back here to Dothan. Didn't get to you all this morning because I was just like, I'm gonna be right back here in a few hours anyway, so I'll get back to you all and talk to y'all today. So I planned on going to bed by 9:30. I was in the bed, but the problem was I was on Duolingo, just constantly going through my progression of Portuguese, right? I was just on a roll, and I was on a streak, so I was just like, let me keep going, and then I looked up, it was like 10:30, close to 11, 10:30, 10:45, something like that. I eventually was like, oh, let me go to sleep to get up at 4, and I'm not tired. Flights were very uneventful. It's a short flight, 33 minutes. Not too much can really, anything can happen on any span of flight, but nothing really happened as far as major wise. But other than that, I'm gonna go work out. I've been finding new movies to watch on Netflix. I found a movie called Anon, A-N-O-N, with Clive Owens, and I can't think of the girl name. If you ever saw In Time with Justin Timberlake, where he had his lifespan was on his arm, and if you run out of time, you die. The main girl in that movie is in this movie. Now, let me warn you, if you go watch this and you're not, it says nudity on there. I'm thinking maybe a sex scene here and there. Yeah, it's a little bit more than that. So if you're not, you don't want to see that stuff, then don't watch this movie. But it's like a cyberpunk type movie where you in the future, at some point in time, where in my eye, if I look at you, I can see your whole profile, who you are, whatever like that. And somebody was hacking into people's eyes and killing them, and they had to figure out who. Clive Owens was a detective, and he had to figure out who. So I've been just trying to find new stuff to watch on Netflix and Hulu that kind of pique my interest. So that's what I'm gonna do again today after I work out and come back and do some editing. So I'll see you guys in the morning. Everybody, I made it here to Albany. I want to say welcome back. I didn't get to you all this morning because I was rushing to catch the shuttle, right? And I shouldn't have. I showed up to work 2 hours early, thinking my report time was at 10:18 when it really was 11:18. I showed up in the parking lot at 9:18, right? And I'm rushing to get the shuttle. And then I go down the gate, C1, which is all the way at the other end. I'm sitting down. Then next thing I notice, I get a notification saying, oh, your plane is just now taxiing out of Jackson, Mississippi. I'm like, Jackson, Mississippi? Why is it just not taxiing out? We're about to board. Then I look down and then realize, man, I wasn't supposed to be here until 11:18 and not 10:18. So I made it to Albany. It was 3 legs, Baton Rouge turn, and then to Albany. Other than that, that's all it was, a very uneventful day. And I'm finna go work out, come back, and we have a 5:40 van. It's going on a little bit after 6:30 right now. So not a long overnight, but I'll see you guys in the morning. Good morning, everybody. Today is day 2 of 4. Slept really well. I went to bed. I was in the bed by 9:45, so I'm pretty sure I was asleep by 10. And it is now almost 5:40 for my van time, so I slept pretty well. 4-leg day today. Albany to Atlanta, sit for an hour and a half. Atlanta to Charleston, West Virginia, back to Atlanta, and then Atlanta to Lafayette, Louisiana. So hopefully it stays that way. There's no changes to my schedule today, and I get to the hotel in enough decent time, and I can watch football. Today is Saturday, so that's what I do on Saturdays in the fall. But other than that, that's all I have for you. I don't know. Yesterday, I didn't feel like working out. I made myself work out, even though I didn't. And I'm just on the rest of this journey to try to lose these last 10 pounds, right? It seems like it's always harder to lose the last 10 pounds of where I want to be as far as my weight goal. And it just seemed like it's harder to do the last 10. The first 25 is cool, but now I gotta lose the last 10, and it seemed like it's a lot difficult. And then also with it being cooler weather makes it a lot harder for me because I can't sweat as easily as I was in the early summer. So, but we're gonna try to push through it and get to this goal. But I'll see you guys once I get to Lafayette, Louisiana. Hey everybody, made it here to Lafayette. Flight's very uneventful today. I want to say something, right? We all know that things happen in this world and most people want to give their opinion on things, right? Sure, we have freedom of speech, but that's only from government interference. It's not free from consequences if you say something, especially if your company has a social media policy. Even if they don't have a strict social media policy and people find out where you work and you say some inflammatory things that are not so, trust me, people would rather get rid of you than lose business, right? So, Mainline had to put out the CEO of Mainline had to put out a memo stating that because there are a lot of I don't know if they're flight attendants, don't let me say that, employees for Mainline that said some things about the recent events. If you've been on any news or not living on a rock, somebody got so. And again, everybody feels the need to express their opinion. I'm glad that I never got into Twitter when it first came out and was saying, I've never been saying any crazy things anyway, because I'm like, my opinion, I don't care if people want to hear my opinion or not, really. I don't talk politics at work. The only person I talk politics to is my brother. That's it. And just be careful what you do and what you say, right? Just be careful what you do and what you say. we've had flight attendants from my company lose their jobs because of things that they posted on social media. So again, we have a very strict social media rule, and they're not saying that you can't do a healthy debate like, oh, they should raise taxes, state taxes to build this school, or you say no, they should raise local taxes in order to build this school. That's a healthy debate. They're not against that. It's just when you start getting to this other stuff. So freedom of speech. Yes, we do have freedom of speech from government interference, but it's not free from consequences if you say the wrong thing. It's just not. It's just not. It doesn't work that way. So y'all be careful out there. I mind my business. I stay out the way. I'm in the mix, but I'm out the way, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? I know what's going on, but I'm in my own lane doing my own thing. So y'all just be careful out there. And be sure not to say anything that you wouldn't want your job to find out, and you could possibly lose your job, because that job market is not it's not what it used to be. So anyways, I'll see you guys in the morning for 5 o'clock van tomorrow, and it's only a 2-leg day. Good morning, everybody. It's day 3 of this 4-day trip. I'm already back in Louisiana, so I didn't get to y'all this morning because I was snoozing, and I just was like, you know what, I'm gonna be back here in 2 hours. So I'm back here now in Louisiana. I'm gonna go work out, come back, take a nap, and get up and, I don't know, see what's on TV. Other than that, I've been trying to, you know, perfect my Portuguese. So what I started doing was following content creators from Brazil, specifically like in Bahia and Fortaleza, where I plan on going for Carnival. And most of them, they just do, they go to restaurants, basically kind of like try out restaurants, kind of like any food review we have in the United States. And, you know, some of their captions I can understand. If there's a word that I don't know yet, I'll take it, write it down, and translate it and see what it is and see how they use it in a sentence, and just go over those little words like that, because a lot of Brazilians don't speak the proper way that they teach you. Is sometimes they use slang. So for instance, like one of the creators that I follow, her and her husband went to a beach club or something like that, and the caption said peixe vermelho, which translates to red fish, which it looked like a red snapper, but I don't think red snapper is in their like vocabulary to say red snapper. But how we would translate it, how it's said in English, is peixe is the word for fish, vermelho is red, so it's fish red. But when you translate it in Portuguese, it's supposed to be red fish. French is like that too, and some of the things that they say is when you translate it in English, it's said backwards. So that's the one thing I was saying. Like, it said peixe vermelho, which means red fish, but how we would in our English way of sentencing things would be fish red. That's how it was. But I have to always remember that, because when I'm reading things, I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't even make any sense, because I'm still trying to process it. When I'm reading the word, I'm processing it in English, how we would word it in a sentence versus how they would word it in a sentence. And then it all makes sense. So that's the only thing. But man, Portuguese is not an easy language, because one accent or how you say something changes the word, even though it's spelt the same exact way. The accent makes it mean something totally different. If you say it wrong, it's wrong. It means something totally different. So it's kind of like using where and where, W-H-E-R-E, W-E-R-E. Sounds the same, but 2 different meanings, right? Same thing with them. It's just the accent. Even though theirs is spelled the same, the accent mark is over a different letter than the other one. But that's enough about the, language. I just wanted to update you all on that. That's what I'm trying to do, is just immerse myself as much as possible. I started listening to Brazilian music, even though they talk too fast in order for me to even catch it just yet. So when they're talking on their reels, the music, sometimes I can. If they're singing, I can. But if they're like start rapping or talking real fast, I can't. But when they're talking on their reels and they're talking fast, man, it's like, okay, slow down. Slow down, please. But I can read it just fine. Read it just fine and understand it just like that. But other than that, I'm gonna let y'all go. I'll see you guys in the morning for go home. Everybody, I made it home. Today's three flights were very uneventful. Got a new flying partner for my last turn because my original flying partner dropped the turn or got rid of turn. Then that person that took the turn from her got rid of it, and then they put somebody else on it, then they got rid of it and put a reserve on it. So not too much happened. You know, I'm off. Well, I'm not off for another day. Tomorrow I go to Minneapolis for a hiring event, and then I come back, and then I'm off from the 18th of September all the way to the 30th of September. So it's my vacation. I plan on going somewhere for 4 days and then just resting for the rest of the time. And I know y'all see me with this yellow shirt on all the time, but this is my I'm in the house and I'm not going anywhere shirt. So anytime I put this on, I'm not going anywhere else. Not today. Muscadines. It's one thing I love about being here in Georgia is muscadine season, and I love me some muscadine. So I'll see you guys in the next vlog. As always, hug on the ones that you love. Tell the ones that you love them. I'm out.